Okay guys, usual disclaimer, no script, shooting from the hip. Right, I want to get this video out fairly fast because I want to make another video about something I want to make, yeah? Okay, the background image, if I can. What's it about? Well, you know what it's about. You always know what it's about. You British patriots. It's just the left who come on you. They're totally confused. They don't know what. But they see bright colours and images and they, look, he said, oh, what are they doing? Why are they laughing? Yeah. Who are they welcoming aboard? Well, you know who they welcoming aboard, don't you guys? It's the former deformed councillors who have been waiting patiently for Rupert Lowe and the Restore movement to form a political party, yeah. Reform was just a launch pad for them, yeah. So now they are going where their art tells them to go, yeah, where their patriotism lies, and that's not with Reform, that's for sure. We're going to go and have a look in a minute at a video by Connor Tomlin. What am I talking about? Connor Tomlinson. Paul, get a grip. Anyhow, Connor Tomlinson is one who upset the deranged guy over in Ulster, Northern Ireland. Yeah, he doesn't like Connor one little bit. In fact, he won't have anything to do with Connor. He won't have anything to do with me. He wouldn't give me a platform to speak. Anyhow, so it was good news to read about the Reform councillors defecting over to the Restore party. Yeah, it's going to be a great party. Briefly, thinking back on why Rupert didn't join Advance, I think it's fairly obvious now, isn't it? Rupert is a smart guy. He saw what who was going into the college in Advance. People like Richard, well, he's just a member, but the people he associated with, and they were much of a kind. They're not true British patriots at all. Perhaps some of them, maybe, but they weren't very vocal. But the ones that I've seen that Richard associates with, they're not British patriots. In fact, they're more like Antifa, because Antifa will not debate or give a platform to people like me. Doesn't matter what we've done for the country, voluntary, no platform, yeah. And who decides no platform? Well, people like Richard, yeah. Well, it's up to the people to decide who they choose to listen to. People like myself, people like Connor Tomlinson, people like Carl Benjamin, and many, many more. Or people like Richard. Yeah. Right, let's get over and have a look at what Connor is saying. I'm only going to play the first part of it because, well, because I want to go and do something else, and also I want you to go over to the site and watch it in full. But I did like the start of it, which is why I mentioned it. Let's go there now. Here we are.
Clearer than right now. Because as Nigel Farage was announcing Reform's shadow cabinet comprised of Richard Tice, Zia Youssef, and 2 Tory defectors, Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick, he was asked a question by a reporter about Rupert Lowe's new Restore Britain party. And he used this answer to justify Zia Youssef calling the police on Rupert Lowe under false pretenses, which could have landed him in prison because Nigel Farage disagreed with Rupert Lowe on the need for mass deportations.
You know, people think, oh, Farage has done it, we'll just set a party up, it'll be marvellous, we'll sweep the next election. It just isn't as easy as that. Now, does he have a profile on X? Yes, he does. Is Elon going to support him? Probably. But you see, when he stood up and said that we've got to consider the mass deportation of entire communities, including those born in the United Kingdom, that just moves way beyond the point of reasonableness, of decency, of morality. And that was the moment at which, I realised we just had to get rid of him, and get rid of him as quickly as we could. And I think in terms of the way we dealt with that, we were probably more brutal than the other parties. But you know what? That's the way it's going to be. Thank you.
I'm not shocked by much in politics after 5 years, but this had my jaw on the floor. Nigel Farage thinks not only is it necessary, but justified to banish Rupert Lowe from the party, subject him to a HR witch hunt on the grounds of bullying investigations against his staff, to brief to the press the lie that he is suffering from dementia, and then not just treat Zia Yusuf's false police report, and it's false because there was no evidence that Rupert Lowe threatened to kill him. He filed it 3 months after the supposed incident, and the Crown Prosecution Service and the police, who are so eager to imprison any right-winger they can for a meagre tweet, couldn't find the evidence to actually bring charges against him. Not only did Nigel Farage think that that was a blunder he wanted to move past, no. He thought it was, yes, more brutal than what other parties would do, but in the end, it was worth getting rid of Rupert Lowe using that method because he disagreed with Rupert Lowe on mass deportations. Remember, Nigel Farage wrote in The Telegraph shortly after Lowe was exiled that mass deportations was a dark and dangerous use of rhetoric. He's since reversed his position under duress from pressure leveraged by Rupert Lowe, yes, myself at Reform UK conference in 2024, but of course that Stephen Edgington interview, clips of which follow him around like a bad smell. But do you now trust Nigel Farage to execute mass deportations? Because not only is he saying that he banished Rupert Lowe because he believes that deporting people who were born in the country is a step too far. So filing false police reports in order to politically assassinate someone you disagree with in your own party is morally justified. But saying we should deport people who have committed crimes, who were born in the country, is a step too far. Not only can Farage now not be trusted to deliver mass deportations because of that flip-flopping, but also he has appointed Zia Yusuf as his shadow Home Secretary. Zia Yusuf would not just be another Muslim Home Secretary under Reform, another Muslim Home Secretary set to supervise the Home Office, which has been ideologically captured by a 700-strong Islamic network who think that monitoring jihad is Islamophobic, who think that monitoring Islamic terrorism is racist and Islamophobic, and that's words straight from the mouth of a Muslim civil servant whose own brother and school friends joined ISIS, but also who have continually frustrated mass deportations and migration restriction, who have sought to frustrate the process of prescribing Palestine Action as a terrorist group after they shattered the back of a security guard with a sledgehammer and damaged military aircraft. Not only that, but Reform UK would put Zia Yusuf in charge of the police, because the police come under the jurisdiction of the Home Office, especially after the abolition of police and crime commissioners, which Reform are committed to do. Do you want Zia Yusuf as Home Secretary when he called the police on Rupert Lowe to politically assassinate him? Because that's what you're getting if you're voting Reform. Remember, this is what they did to Rupert. They showed up to his home in the evening, raided his house, confiscated his shotguns, all because of the false accusation he had threatened to kill Zia Yusuf. Because, as Farage has revealed, he just wanted him out of the party. He had to get rid of him. And as Rupert says, if they did it to him, they'll do it to you too. This is unconscionable, unacceptable, And, as well, from Farage, an outright distortion of the truth regarding what Rupert had actually said. Now, Rupert, of course, has responded to this to defend himself. He says, Farage has just made an important admission. He said it was when I started talking about mass deportations, it was the moment he realised he had to get rid of me. What did I actually say that Farage felt he had to get rid of me over? The following position. I stated that if communities of foreign nationals knew their husbands, cousins or brothers were industrially raping vulnerable white girls and did nothing, then yes, they should all be deported. Dual nationals involved in the rape, then yes, they go too. We must revoke their citizenship and remove them from the country. And he points to the horrific findings of his privately funded rape gang inquiry, which he did as an independent MP through a crowdfunding platform, whereas Nigel Farage committed to doing the same thing and never followed through on it. He points to the findings that he single-handedly uncovered, which we will go through in a moment, as to the reason why these people shouldn't be here. And here's what Rupert actually said in Parliament during his speech on the rape gangs. Will the government commit to deporting all guilty foreign nationals involved urgently, including family members who were aware of the crimes and therefore complicit? Wives, sisters, mothers and cousins, if they knew and said nothing, are just as guilty as the rapists themselves. Will the government commit to stripping citizenship from dual nationals implicated and deport them as well? Race or religion must protect nobody. Will the government commit to pausing all Pakistani visas and foreign aid into the country until the Pakistani government agree to accept any of their deported citizens who have perpetrated these crimes on British soil and imprison these rapists and their accomplices in Pakistan however they see fit? The choice is clear. Reform UK refuses to deport the perpetrators of the Pakistani rape gangs and the family members that knew about the crimes and covered up for them. Whereas Restore Britain and Rupert Lowe advocate for doing just that and pulling every economic and diplomatic lever they can to ensure that Pakistan takes its racist, rapists and their enablers back. Restore Britain have responded. Here's my friend Charlie Downs saying Farage, for once, has decided to tell the truth, and he's right.
So Nigel Farage has just admitted that the reason he threw Rupert Lowe out of Reform and reported him to the police was because he supports mass deportations. It was nothing to do with bullying or death threats to Zia Youssef. Farage alleges that we want to deport entire communities, and he's absolutely right. A Restore Britain government would deport every last foreign rape gang collaborator, wives, brothers, sisters, cousins, who knew about the rapes but chose to do nothing. Following our inquiry, it could not be more clear that this is the right thing to do. These crimes were an open secret in these communities. And if Farage is not prepared to grapple with this reality, that's on him. But trying to ruin Rupert Lowe's life because he is absolutely disgusting. And if you're a member of Reform, ask yourself whether you want this man, who is now flanked by the likes of Robert Jenrick and Nadeem Zahawi, running your country. And if you don't, join us at Restore Britain.
There are those of us who were encouraging Reform to do better, because they have been consistently topping the last 200 opinion polls, especially since the general election. There are those of us who would have held our nose and voted Reform because they were the least worst option or the best chance we had at smashing the Uniparty. I now never want Nigel Farage to step through the doors of 10 Downing Street. Ever. Not just because Zia Youssef will be his Home Secretary. That is a promise as of today. Not just because Nadeem Zahawi would be his Foreign Secretary. Notice how they held off announcing that, but I know for a fact he was going to be announced as their Foreign Secretary. And I think it's after the launch of Restore Britain, Nadeem Zahawi being Foreign Secretary for Reform would have confirmed all of their base's worst fears about them becoming the Tory Party 2.0. It's because Nigel Farage has just justified trying to put his political opponents in prison because of a disagreement over mass deportations, a policy he's now promising. How is Nigel Farage any different from Lord Hermer? You know Lord Hermer, the Attorney General of Keir Starmer's government, who signed off on the incarceration of Lucy Connolly, the wife of a Conservative councillor, thrown in prison for an imprudent tweet following the Southport massacre. Now, Lucy Connolly should never, ever have been put in prison. Neither should Wayne O'Rourke or Peter Lynch or all of the other people persecuted because Keir Starmer decided to call grieving parents and members of Labour's Red Wall far right. But Lucy Connolly at least had the thin pretext of sending out a tweet that the Crown Prosecution Service and police distorted to imply that she was inciting violence against asylum seekers and politicians. Rupert Lowe did no such thing. and Nigel Farage has now admitted that there was no substance to the police complaint filed by Zia Yusuf. The story about Rupert Lowe saying he was going to slit his throat or shoot him was just a thin veneer for a political attack to excise Rupert Lowe from the party. So, Rupert Lowe was persecuted by the police, had his home raided, his shotguns taken, his staff subjected to a HR witch hunt, for far less than Lucy Connolly. And Nigel Farage did it. Zia Yusuf did it. And these men can now never be in power. And the choice is clear to our old friend Danny Finkelstein, because, as Charlie Downs has pointed out, if you want a second-generation migrant, Zia Yusuf, who tried to get Rupert Lowe thrown in prison on false charges, in charge of immigration and policing, Vote Reform UK. And Mr. Finkelstein has said, I wonder if Restore Britain might assist Nigel Farage. Their insistence that Britain should not be for second-generation migrants born here, like myself or Zia Yusuf, and is and will strike most people as being an extreme position that allows Farage to position himself against it. So Nigel Farage is positioned against deporting anyone who was born in Britain, no matter their behaviour. And he is for Zia Yusuf calling the police on Rupert Lowe. But why is Rupert Lowe, Charlie Downs, myself, why are we in favour of deporting people who were born here if they commit heinous crimes? Because Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry has revealed the most heinous crimes that have ever been committed in Britain.
Okay, guys, I'm going to stop it there. Let's go back to the bunker. Before we go, though, I do urge you to go over and listen to what Connor is saying. It does get pretty graphic, actually, because he starts to list some of the details of the inquiry led by the excellent Rupert the Bear Lowe. Follow the bear. Yeah. Meanwhile, follow me into the bunker. I like my bunker. It's peaceful. Wife doesn't know what I'm doing down here. No, I can't tell you now. I'll tell you in the next video. Something my wife said. Okay, guys. Well, there you have it. I thought that was excellent by Connor. Do you want to follow me in like Connor Tomlinson and Rupert Lowe, or do you want to follow the likes of the DEI people over in Advanced UK, the college? I'm not knocking Advanced UK per se. I'm a member myself, and I know that there are patriots in there, but there are also those who are, to me, anti-British. Yeah. Anyhow, that's all I've got for you guys. I'll see you on the next one. I want to make one I want to make. You've been listening to Paul Morris, The Green Arrow. See you on the next one.